There are three very distinct flavors of burnout, but knowing what antidote to use is key. And I think the biggest mistake that I see folks make is trying to use the antidote from type number 1 to fix their type number 2 burnout. Hey mama, welcome back to the Thrive Mama podcast. I'm Martina, certified nutrition consultant and holistic health coach, and a mama of 2, and I'm so glad you're here. I am here to help busy moms unlock their energy, balance their hormones, and break out of burnout using nutrition as a foundation. On this podcast, we will dive into actionable strategies on nutrition, nervous system healing, and aligning with your cycles, with a healthy dose of relatable motherhood thrown in, all designed to help you move past surviving to actually thrive in motherhood. Let's do this. Before we dive in, I have 2 quick announcements. The first is, right now, as of recording this podcast, the doors to Lunar Living are wide open. We are starting our next round of Lunar Living on June 25th. If you're not familiar, Lunar Living is a 1-month-long sacred cycle syncing container. So I get to co-host this space with my dear friend Kayla, and together we really immerse ourselves in what it means to weave together menstrual cycle wisdom with moon phase wisdom. And for an entire moon cycle, we meet every single week exploring the energy of that moon and the energy of your menstrual phase. It's really the blueprint of how do we live our lives cyclically. We weave in nutrition, herbs, energy, expenditure, what we're spending our energy on, intentions, and how to move in ceremony, like infuse ceremony into your daily lives from this lens of honoring with and centering our cycles. It's really powerful. It's really beautiful. It's really fun. The summer session we're hosting just feels really fun and alive. Like if you've just been craving more joy and vitality and life force, like unlocking your cycle blueprint is such an important key. And I don't know of any other programs like this that are weaving together the embodied menstrual cycle wisdom of like what to eat when and what exercise to do when, like how are we honoring our hormones, with the ceremony, with the moon magic, with the outer cycles of our seasons of astrology of the moon into our bodies and how they all play together. It's so fun. So if you are feeling called into Lunar Living, there is a link below this video to learn more, feel into it, and save your spot if you feel called. And then my second announcement for all of my plan ahead mamas out there, Thrive Mama is opening doors in July. We are going to be starting our next cohort of Thrive Mama next month. And I know some of us like to sort of vision and plan ahead or start to look at details or process decision making. So I just want to plant the seed now. You'll be hearing more in the next few weeks, but Thrive Mama doors are opening soon. So if you've had your eye on more support, more community, more coaching around your nutrition, your health, your vibrancy, and thriving in your body, Thrive Mama is the place to be. So all of the links, magic links, are down below. Check them out. But today, what we are really here to talk about, my love, is burnout. And, building a business in the 21st century, we're all learning how to weave AI into our business supports. And one thing I love to do with tools like ChatGPT is I will input a bunch of my content, my thoughts, my materials, my coaching, all the things. I'll input them into ChatGPT and I will ask for reflections back. And one of the exercises I did recently was tell me the top 10 words that I'm using to describe my work to people. And the number 1 word was energy that I use in my work, which makes sense. It's the number 1 word I hear reflected back to me that people are craving. And the number 2 word was burnout. And I use this word all the time, but we haven't done a lot of pausing, framing, exploring of what we mean when we say burnout, because me expressing burnout is probably different than how you express burnout. And I've actually learned that there are three very distinct flavors of burnout. There's three like presentations, three ways that it can manifest in your life. And each way actually has its own approach, its own antidote. So if we don't flush out what flavor of burnout we're experiencing or that we're prone to, we may be trying to use an antidote for a different type of burnout that's not actually getting to the root of the problem. So let's define burnout for a moment, shall we? I consider burnout a prolonged period of time where your demands on your energy are higher than your energy reserves. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The demands on your energy are higher than your energy reserves. And typically, burnout happens when that continues to repeat over a prolonged period of time. So we all can feel in our bodies what that feels like, right? When the demands on our energy are higher than our energy reserves. So at its most basic level, we can look at burnout from those two sides of the coin. To get out of burnout or prevent it in the first place, we are either lowering the demands on our energy or we are increasing our energy reserves so we can meet the demands, or both, usually some of both. But if those things are out of balance, if we have more demands than we have energy and that stays that way for a long time, we are going to burn out, which usually manifests as like extreme fatigue and exhaustion, as typically shifts in like mood, irritability, frustration, anxiety, a sort of disconnect from the things that usually bring us joy and that excite us. I imagine literally our inner flame, our life force that's just like sputtering, trying to stay alive, and it's just like getting, smothered by all the demands. And you can feel in your body what that feels like. For some of us, it turns into tightness, tension, anxiety, anger. And for some of us, it's like total bottom out depletion, exhausted, can't get enough sleep, nothing's exciting, kind of depressed, like neutral, disconnected sort of feelings. And this is actually a core piece of the coaching work that I do. We use health and vitality in our bodies to prevent and counteract burnout. We are increasing our energy reserves so we can meet our demands. And I am weaving in nervous system work, cycle syncing wisdom, ceremony, and ritual so that we're also lowering the demands on our energy, or at least bringing them more in alignment with what we want to be using our energy for. So those are the two real big pillars of this burnout work. We're using nutrition, we're using biology, we're using fuel to increase our cellular health, to fight burnout, to have more energy so we can meet the demands. And we're healing our nervous system. We're doing the deep mindset work. We're doing the deep ceremony, ritual work so that we can also have a reasonable demand on our life force. But what really gets fun when I work with people is dissecting this into the three branches of burnout. So today we're going to talk about what are these three flavors of burnout? What are the signs and symptoms of each so you can self-reflect on which one you're prone to the most? What are these three manifestations of burnout? And what are the antidotes to each one? Because they are different depending on what style of burnout you're in. And knowing the antidote is key to knowing how to move through and out of it and reconnect to that inner flame. So let's dive in. Type number one of burnout that I see is the overdrive burnout. This is where we are just doing too much. Our expectations on our time and energy is unrealistic, and this stays that way for a prolonged period of time. You can feel what this feels like. Just the to-do list is too freaking long. There's just too much on our plate day to day that our energy cannot keep up with it. That is type number one, overdrive burnout. And we're going to get into the antidotes in a minute, but the only way to move out of type number one burnout is to shift what's on your plate. It is to reframe expectations for what you get done in a day. It is to delegate or get help or support in some way. It is to reschedule your life in such a way that you are lightening the load because it's unrealistic and no amount of like meditating is going to fix that. All right. So that is type number one, overdrive. It tends to be quite like logistical and tangible in how it presents and in how we fix it. Type number two is more of a dysregulated burnout. In type number two, you may or may not have too much on your plate, but it doesn't really matter because even if your plate were to open up, you are operating from a baseline dysregulated state that leaves you feeling like there's urgency, fire, overwhelm, even when your outer environment doesn't reflect it. Okay, so dysregulated burnout is when we're bringing this intensity, this urgency, this stress to everything we're doing. We feel overwhelmed. When we reflect that to those around us, we start to see like, oh, the to-do list isn't actually that long. I just feel like it is. I feel like I can't hold it all, but objectively, it's not the list that's the problem. It's the regulation and how we're moving through it. A great example of this state was when I left my teaching job, which I loved in so many ways, but left me incredibly burned out physically and emotionally. When I left my teaching job, I was so looking forward to not being burned out anymore. And the most amazing thing happened. I started a new job at a birth center as a clinical nutritionist, and I brought the same stress and overwhelm to that objectively fine job that I had been operating in. I blamed the stress on the job, but it was not the outer environment causing the inner burnout. It was my inner system. And when I brought that inner system into a new environment, it just played out in the same way. It wasn't until I regulated my hormones, my nervous system, even my blood sugar, my cellular health and balance, like all of those things had to re-regulate before I interacted with my environment in a different way. And I see this with moms all the time. We are holding a lot. That is objectively true. But are we holding an impossible amount? Sometimes. Maybe that's more number one type, overdrive. But often, it's not the impossible amount that's causing the burnout, it's the regulation that we bring to it. Okay? This is where the temptation is to go to the to-do list. The temptation is to blame, manipulate, try to fix burnout using an antidote for number one. We try to fix this dysregulation burnout by using the antidote from the overdrive burnout. We try to logistically change what's on our plate. We try to get help. We try to delegate. We try to take breaks. Those things are all great, but that is the antidote to something different. Because if we don't use the antidote for this dysregulation, we're going to just stay dysregulated even when our plate is lighter. You've probably watched this play out in like, I'll be able to relax and take better care of myself once we get through this busy season. Like once the kids go back to school, or once we get through the holidays, or once we're done with this trip, like whatever the thing is. And then you get on the other side, and guess what? It's like there's another thing that you get to attach that to, and you're still in the same state. So, this number two bucket of burnout, I would say, is the majority of the people that I work with. Probably 80% of the people that come to me are either prone to or are actively moving through this kind of burnout. This is where nutrition, nervous system healing, cycle wisdom come together to give us a blueprint for how to reprogram. This is the hardest type of burnout to recover from because it is deeply programmed in our body, and it will continue playing out over and over and over in every season of life until we heal it. And I think the biggest mistake that I see folks make is trying to use the antidote from type number one to fix their type number two burnout. And maybe it helps for a day or two to have a better system, to have a better planner, to have your mom come and help, to have like you can logistically manipulate your environment to a certain extent, and it feels good for a minute. But it's going to continue cycling until we get into the roots of your energy and your nervous system. All right. This is type number two, dysregulation. Type number three is one that almost no one's talking about, but is really important, especially for women, especially for moms. This is the soul-starved burnout. Your soul is starved. Your light has gone out. And this doesn't necessarily come from having too much on your plate. It doesn't help, but that's not the root cause. What's happening here is not that you're doing too much, it's that you're not doing enough of what lights you up, of what brings you joy, of what makes you feel like you, and brings you back into presence, into expression, into full connection. When we are lacking in that like inner fire, we feel the burnout cycles, even though we look around our life and we're like, I'm not that busy. I'm not like everything's fine, but we're not connected into our soul fire. We're not doing enough of what brings us life and joy, right? I see this a lot with honestly both moms who stay home with their kids and moms who are trying to juggle working out of the home with their kids. Both have this thread of I'm going through the motions day to day. Other people need so much from me. I'm keeping my head above water by chugging through the tasks. My needs are on the back burner. I'll get to them when I can. And there's no space or awareness for what lights your soul on fire, for what you're passionate about. And as women, our soul fire is critical. It is part of our power. It is part of our purpose in this life, is to bring our unique, authentic fire into the world. And it goes out when we disconnect from that, when we disconnect from the joy and the play and the expression and the authenticness of being us. And this can happen with the other types of burnout, but it can happen on its own. I have worked with folks who are regulated just fine. They're coping, they're moving, they don't feel anxious or depressed, they just feel blah. And there's no inner fire or spark in their day to day, in their routines, in their connections, in their expression. This is the I feel like I've lost myself since becoming a mom kind of manifesto that evolves into this soul-starved burnout. And you can imagine as an antidote, we need something really different for type number three than we do for the other types. Type number three is not about we got to regulate your hormones, we got to get your nervous system safe, we got to shift your to-do list. Those things might help make space for the things your soul needs, but the root of the issue is in your joy, is in what lights you up. So you can see again, if you're just trying to use the antidote from type number one to fix your soul-starved burnout, you're not going to get very far. You're like, oh, I'm so burned out. I really need to get some stuff on my plate. I really need to get some stuff off my plate. I need more help. I need more support. I need my partner to show up and like do the things they say they're going to do. I need less hours at work, whatever. You're like manipulating your external environment, but that's not the root of what's going on with your soul-starved burnout. Maybe your plate is fine. You just need more fire. You need more light. You need more whatever lights you up in your life. Okay, this is different for everybody. My soul gets really starved for time alone in nature, for ceremony, for making music, for singing, for playing piano, for travel, having a trip to look forward to plan to explore, for creative projects. I love working with my hands, like painting and clay and like just creative things. And my soul gets really starved for that when I go days, weeks, months at a time on a daily loop of like changing the diapers and doing the dishes and being on meetings. And before I know it, the soul fire is like suffocating in there because there's nothing fueling it. And the things that fuel your soul fire are personal to you. Some of them are going to be big, and some of them are going to be daily micro moments of like jamming out to your favorite song and just like feeling your body and dancing. Or it's like for me, taking a moment in my day to like play the piano and sing full out. Like these micro moments can make a big difference, but they're the things that connect us back into ourselves. So here's the paradox here. Type number one, the overdrive burnout, is the least common type of burnout that I see. It's the least common. It is true that we are all, as humans, holding high standards and usually impossible standards of what we can and want to get done in a day, in a week, in a month. Okay, that is true. But type number one burnout presents when that is the root of the problem. And that's super rare. The root of the problem is usually dysregulation in our blood sugar, hormones, in our cell function, in our nervous system, or your starving soul asking for more light and life and joy, or both. But the paradox here is that even though type number one is the least common, it is the most common antidote that we reach for. Most of us are trying to solve our burnout with the next fancy planner, with the best time management book, with picking fights with our partner to get more help, with delegating things off of our list or looking ahead to a season when it's not going to be like that. That's all antidotes for type number one. Type number 2 and 3 require a different antidote. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling your gut check of like, yeah, even if you're not burned out today, what is your tendency? Where do you lean? What are you prone to in your burnout patterns? Type number 1, 2, or 3. For most of us, it's going to be somewhere in type 2, perhaps with flavors of the other two mixed in. But knowing what antidote to use is key. Now, my clients learn a whole toolbox of what to use in different scenarios to support their energy and their regulation so that we can keep our energy and demands in beautiful balance and we don't get in these cycles as much. And we're not going to go into the whole toolbox today because there's so much, but a couple I would love to share. Type number 1, overdrive burnout. One thing I teach my clients to do is to use a big 3 for the day. So you look at your whole to-do list or sit and reflect on everything that needs to get done, and you narrow it down to 3 top most important things. If nothing else happens in your day, life would go on. But these are the things you're actively choosing are your non-negotiables, are the most important. And I'm talking specific things. Clean the house is not a thing. Okay? Vacuum the living room, that is a thing. So we're getting really specific. What are my top 3 for the day? Your top 3 might be present with my kids, like have uninterrupted playtime with my kids. That might be a thing. Maybe one of your top 3s is like return that phone call, do that Amazon return. Like we're really prioritizing because the truth of the matter is the to-do list never ends. And if we make our relaxation, our thriving, contingent on the to-do list being at the bottom, we will be stuck in this loop forever waiting because the to-do list never ends. So it's all an exercise in prioritization. And if you can narrow in your big 3 for the day, you get a lot of clarity and it relieves so much pressure. Anything else you get done on top of those big 3 is a bonus. Amazing. Celebrate. Wow, I got these extra things done. But if nothing else happens and those 3 things happen, life will go on. And it forces you to be really discerning about what's most important. So that's one of the many tools that I teach for type 1. Now, type 2 goes into a deep well of tools because this is expanding nervous system capacity. This is creating safety in the body, which happens through nutrition, through herbs, through blood sugar balance, through healthy, vibrant, thriving, buzzy cells, right? There's so much that goes into this. One tool that is really important for type 2 is re-examining your relationship with caffeine, which I know is really, really tough to hear. And you may have heard me preach on coffee before, but listen, if we are prone to or we're in a burnout cycle, caffeine is making it worse, especially caffeine from coffee or from energy drinks is making it worse. And it is so tempting to think it's making it better. And it's not, especially if you're in this type 2 bucket where the core issue isn't, I have too much to do. The core issue is, I am dysregulated in what I'm doing. It's not what I'm doing, it's how I'm doing it. And if that is true for you, caffeine is making everything more heightened, more activated, more tense, literally on a cellular level is impacting your regulation. Now, that doesn't mean you can never drink caffeine, but there are some do's and don'ts that we work through in my programs with my clients to make sure that caffeine has a bit of a buffer to stay supportive and not draining for your energy. For example, you've probably heard it before. We're not drinking coffee on an empty stomach in the morning. We are pushing it off. We're eating a balanced breakfast. We're hydrating. Then, if we want some caffeine, that happens later. So there's lots of ways to use caffeine and even coffee that are balanced that we go into in my programs. But for today's just tool for type number 2, just get curious about your relationship with caffeine and how it's supporting or activating your burnout patterns. And then for the soul-starved burnout, my favorite tool that I want to leave you with is make yourself a physical list. I want you to get a piece of paper. You're going to divide it down the middle into 2 columns, and you're going to make yourself a list. And on one side, I want you to write down everything that drains life out of you, that drains your energy. Write it down. No judgment, no filtering. What drains your energy in your life? Make a list. And on the other side, I want you to write down everything that gives you life. Everything that when you're done with it, you feel more alive than you did when you started. You feel more energized than you did when you started. Energy is constantly transferring around us and between us. There are things that literally give us energy. What are they for you? Write them down. Make a list. What is your life-giving list? And then I really want you to look at the balance between the two. What is taking up most of your time? What is more present in your day-to-day life? I think you'll be able to see really quickly how and why your soul is so starved, because most of us spend so much time in the draining tasks and very little time making space for the life-giving activities. So your task is simple. Your toolbox, your antidote is to start with, create time and space for the life-giving activities. Literally schedule it into your life. Put it on your calendar. Talk to your partner about how you're going to make it happen. Like, create an actual plan to weave more of those life-giving activities in. Even if you don't know if you're in soul-starved burnout, this exercise would be really powerful, I think, for a lot of us to sit with this week. Make yourself a list of what drains and gives you life and see where the balance is. So I know that you can start to feel how nuanced and individual all of this is, but also how important it is to find an antidote that is aligned to the type of burnout that you're moving through. Because not all burnout is created equal. And when we try to treat one flavor of burnout with the antidote from another, we end up frustrated and still stuck in the same loops. So if you want more support with all of this, Lunar Living or Thrive Mama or both are going to be incredible containers and tools to bring you back into your energy and vitality. Soul-starved burnout, Lunar Living is the antidote, my friend. Coming back into your body, into your authentic expression, your cycles, sitting in ceremony with your soul and hearing its call. That is the medicine. And if you are in type 1 or 2 burnout, that cycle work is still a powerful thread, and Thrive Mama might be an amazing layer of support to look into adding on next month when we open doors. I would love to hear below this episode. Use the comments on Spotify or YouTube and drop me, what type of burnout do you feel like you're prone to or you're moving through? And what was your biggest reflection from this episode? What stood out to you? What questions do you still have? What was an aha moment? I would love to hear it. Make sure to like, subscribe, share all the magical things that keep these podcasts alive. Pushing those little buttons truly does more than you are even aware of. And I'm so grateful for every single person that takes time out to rate the show, subscribe to the show, send it to a friend. it means so, so much, and it ripples out in a really powerful way. So thank you all for being here. Next week, there will be no episode because we are starting our 3 episodes a month cycle to give my body and my channel a pause in my late luteal phase, because it has not been feeling great to push myself to record every single week consistently when I'm not feeling it. So next week is late luteal phase. I'm going to be taking some extra space, and I'll be back the week after with a new episode. In the meantime, I'm sending you so much love, and take beautiful care of yourself.